for your flexibility through all of this. So, I see that you're in your O3 agenda. So, even though the times are different, we're going to spend our time first doing a quick check-in. We're then going to review the cohesive coaching cycle. We're going to then go into your lesson plan feedback, so I can see where you are with your sheets and how that looks going to teachers. We're going to plan a cohesive coaching cycle where I observe you doing a full cycle with a teacher, and the teacher I want us to focus on would be who?
Probably Ms. Wilkerson.
Yeah, Algebra 1. Close off on next steps, and then finalize with any closing and support you may need from me. How does that sound? Okay. So first, checking in. How are you? How are things feeling so far?
Good.
It's Tuesday.
Good. I feel like there's like a breath of fresh air, like really. I think us going into classrooms the first day we were back, the first day students were back, and I know I've been consistently in class spaces, like, so it just feels really good to be in class. Like, I know yesterday I did a quick pivot with Miss Wilkerson's class, but it was just good to be of support into the little bit of stand and deliver, kind of coach a little bit, completed her observation in Whetstone, just kind of talk to her a little bit, so.
You say it feels good like a breath of fresh air. What do you think has attributed to that or created that space for you?
I think it was good for teachers to get a break, but I think that a lot of the groundwork was maybe done for a semester. So, like with being consistent with expectations from students academically and culturally. So I think we see a lot less of that. I would even say even going into break, I would say it decreased more so where I was in my office a lot, handling culture, like a lot of the day. I don't do that as much anymore. Like I'm able to actually focus a little bit more on academics. So
good. Well, I'm glad that is true for you. I'm glad that things are feeling like a breath of fresh air. I'm glad you're able to get into classrooms and give that coaching, make pivots where pivots need to happen in spaces. And what I even love hearing is we already have a re-observation inside of Whetstone. So
it's already in there.
That's a plus. I love it. So I just want to ground us back in the cohesive coaching cycle. I'm going to drop the link for the spreadsheet in your O3 agenda.
Okay.
So it's now linked in where it says reviewing cohesive coaching cycle. All right, so this is the spreadsheet we put together and at the end of cycle 2. So we're knowing what cycle 3 needs to look like and where we need to be at certain times. So when it comes to Miss White, at this week we're closing off cycle 1 with her. So she should already have her lesson feedback for the party lesson she's doing tomorrow. Is she still on track to do this party lesson tomorrow?
So she's actually doing it today. Yeah, so that's why I'm actually gonna go visit her today instead of tomorrow. She said that she talked to me about it yesterday and she asked if I could come today and make that transition, and I told her yes.
I love that communication. So she's having her observation today on the party lesson.
Correct.
She's also gonna get her re-input
today.
And her WDM date is still gonna be the 17th, closing this out.
As far as I know, like that hasn't changed. I do know, with the exception of Miss White, Mr. Clark, and Miss Wilkerson, I know theirs is going to be off a little bit. They did communicate that with me. They're trying to catch up on their WFAs.
We're gonna go step by step.
Yeah.
But as far as Miss,
as far as I know, no changes have been made with Miss White when it comes to that.
All Alright, so we are on track with cycle 1 with Miss White, which is good. With Miss Curvey, her party lesson is on Thursday. Is she still on track? She will not be here.
No.
So when do we anticipate
Monday.
We don't have school Monday.
Tuesday then.
Alright, so
It'll
I'm
be
gonna
Tuesday.
shift that to be the 17th. That means she's gonna have 2 party lessons next week. So it'll be in a double cycle in a way with her. But the priority is to close off this first coaching cycle.
Okay.
So she'll do her party lesson on the 17th. That means her WDM cannot happen that same day unless y'all do a quick turnaround from the lesson to the, because you also need to do your prep, your internalization of it. You need to have your exemplar, which you can do ahead of time,
Yeah.
but also pulling student results and giving you a time to plan. Do you believe that you would feel confident to execute a WDM that same day, or do we need to push that WDM to the 24th?
No, I would probably push it to the 24th.
Okay. Is there anyone potentially that week you can switch O3s with her with? Or do it like O3 with her on Friday maybe?
Yeah. Let me look at the calendar a little bit before I say yes or no.
Okay, I'm just gonna put a tentative there
Yeah.
so we can keep this in mind. All right, so White's green, Curvey's yellow. Let's look at Mr. Clark. So his party lesson was supposed to be today, module 6, lesson 2.
No.
Where is he standing with that?
He is completing he's catching up as well. He was a little bit behind. He is doing his module 3 WFA 5 today.
All right, so when will this party lesson that we have scheduled for cycle 1 take place?
I know he'll be caught up by this week, so maybe his will likely be next week as well. Now I do have his weekly data meetings or his lesson plan meetings on Thursdays, so he's a little bit easier to navigate when it comes to his data.
Alright, so I do want to give a concrete date with him, like we need to be back on track by this. I'm just pulling up his WAG right now so we can look at it. You said he's doing which lesson today?
He's doing a quiz. Hold on, let me get out of here. M3 WFA 5.
M3 or M4?
Oh, he put the wrong one. It's M4 then.
M4?
Let me go back and look real quick. Because he physically showed me, but he has the wrong thing linked on here. No, it isn't the WFA 5.
Module 3.
Uh-huh.
I'm asking because the week at a glance module, I'm not seeing that at any point in time, because if he's catching up, then that means
He's way behind, but he's not that far behind.
Yeah, because if he's catching up, that means potentially he's making up a lesson from before break.
Way before. Yeah.
Which would be December 5th. I see a module 4 lesson 5. I'm not seeing any module 3s in that combination until you get all the way to October. And even in October, it goes from module 4 and module 3 lesson 4 to module 3 lesson 6, October 17th.
Yeah.
So what lesson is he pulling this from? What is he using? I think that question is maybe irrelevant. I think the biggest question is, how do we get him on track to where he's supposed to be with module 6? So module 6 lesson 3 was supposed to be executed tomorrow on Wednesday. How do we get this to happen at least by Friday?
So we're gonna have to go through it in our O3. We're definitely gonna have to go through that. I know he wasn't that far behind, but now that I think about it, I know when his son passed, I think that pushed him further behind. But he wasn't that far behind. So we're just gonna have to combine lessons. He's gonna have to do kind of what I'm doing with Miss Curvey. He's gonna have to teach an essential piece of a lesson as a do now, and allow that to trickle into a new lesson to get caught up. That's the only way. Or I will also have to go through and eliminate lessons that are maybe supplemental, so that way we can focus on the priority lessons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm still wondering, how do we get module 6 as it was supposed to be lesson 2? So he has 2 party lessons this week. My wondering is still, how do we get one of those party lessons to be executed by Friday?
Back to the WebEx side. He's just gonna have to teach it.
When?
Just to be honest. I know he had either 3 or 4, because between him and Miss Wilkerson, they had around the same amount. He's gonna have to teach it today or Thursday. Tomorrow or Thursday. It has to be taught.
Right,
but I know he's taught complementary and supplementary angles.
So are we focusing in on his 2 party lessons? He has module 6 lesson 2, module 6 lesson 3. Which party lesson are we going to prioritize in this cycle?
Lesson 2.
All right, so lesson 2, we're going to have him to teach on Thursday. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So can he have that lesson plan submitted to you by tomorrow morning, so you can do the pre-feedback to do the full cycle with him?
Okay.
So you give feedback to him on the lesson by the 11th, and he does it on the 12th. You observe him on the 12th, and that will allow you to still do your WDM on the correct time. So that'll put both of y'all back on track.
Okay.
All right, and I put that on the tracker as well, so you can see that underneath him. And then with him, with this new shift, we're gonna have to keep the lessons moving from there. So not going backwards. And if there's anything that we need to re-loop or reteach for students, maybe consider with him in your O3s, how do I use intervention time to do that?
Okay.
So I feel like there is a way to get crafty if there has to be any going backwards or re-looping, but we need to get back on track, especially with us making sure these standards are being touched on before IA happens, which is literally in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So if we keep pushing back, students are going to be further pushed back themselves.
Okay.
So that puts us on track with Mr. Clark, and I'll be looking forward to that one. Miss Wilkerson, she was supposed to have her Module 3, Lesson 5 party lesson taught on Friday. What is that head shake me?
That's another reason why I spent so much time with her. Ms. Wilkerson did not have any lesson plans updated. When I went into her class, she did not have a lesson plan. I told her I needed her to upload her lesson plan this morning because nothing was there. So I had a very honest conversation with her about like what it needs to look like moving forward. I'm gonna stamp that with her today.
Your O3s with her today?
No, but I still need to stamp that with her because the students are gonna suffer. So
when is your O3 with her?
Thursdays.
All right, so this lesson is supposed to be taught on Friday. In you stamping today with her the expectations for lesson plans, how can you weave in this lesson plan to be submitted to you so the execution is still happening on Friday?
I would think the same thing with Mr. Clark. Like it needs to be submitted by tomorrow. Literally just the same place. The lesson needs to be submitted by tomorrow so that she can get feedback. Even what I did with the other teachers, I actually took what they did, and I had it out for them. Like Miss White has like a copy of notes that I added to her actual lesson plan, like on top of the lesson plan. So I can do the same thing with Miss Wilkerson. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, because the power of exponential growth in the past that has not been highly tested, so she can definitely combine those lessons.
okay. When you say you're gonna follow up with Clark and Wilkerson, what does that follow up look like for you?
Kind of, I guess, like a O3, having that conversation, like we need to be honest and vulnerable, like where are we? And this is where we need to be. So let's come up with a detailed plan so that we can move to our preferred state.
Yeah. So in that conversation, what should happen afterwards to ensure accountability is still there?
That I need to stamp when the lesson plan should be submitted so that I can give timely feedback before it is actually produced in front of students, and making sure that it's on their digital clipboard if need be. Even if it is, I like paper, so I don't even mind a paper version of it, but just something that I can have so that we can like work to move forward.
When you say stamp, what does stamp mean for you?
Like solidify, like this is the expectation. I can give you a calendar reminder, what works best for you. I can put it on your calendar and invite you as an attendee so that you know, like it helps us both accountable, not just them, myself as well.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to push to. How do we get that tangible accountability too? I love the idea about the calendar invite. That wasn't at top of my mind, but I do think that will be transformational for them and also for you. I think in that also, an email.
Okay.
So this is what we talked about during this time. This is what This is what I'm expecting to have by this date. As a trail that I not only talk to you about it, but I also you have it in writing. Because say for example somebody they're not in their head, they're saying yeah, and then you're coming back, you're having a conversation with them. I don't remember having that conversation. Glad he said that.
Yeah.
And then pull up the email. But I think the email plus calendar invite will be super accountable for both of them because we have no time to waste and student progress cannot be jeopardized because of lack of adult preparedness. So we have to do what's best for kids at all time, and that's making sure we are staying on track with the pacing and not just saying I'm still trying to make up time, because if we're always making up time, kids will forever suffer.
Yeah.
So I do love the play that you're having about the priority lessons for Clark and for Wilkerson to ensure they're still happening this week.
Sophia.
Delgado?
I don't know.
Oh, sixth grade Sophia. Okay. And I think beyond just that conversation, just continuing to stamp with the email and calendar invite.
I will say that's even a push / coach for myself to make sure that I'm stamping that like in email, to ensure that nobody can say I don't remember having that conversation. Like that is a growth point for myself. I can say that I need to be better.
So when you send this email and calendar invite, may you CC me and then add me to the calendar invite too? Okay, cool. So by the end of this week, everyone who's going to be present on campus is going to have their first cycle observed by the end of this week. The only person that is not going to have that is Ms. Curvey, because she will not be here for the close of the week, but she is picking it back up Tuesday when she gets here. So on the CCC scope and sequence, I updated all of these dates, so you also have it as well. Mr. Purvis, do you have a plan to go into his lesson tomorrow? He should be on his party lesson tomorrow.
I'm gonna go during Miss White's time. Sorry, I'm gonna change.
Tomorrow. Okay. And Miss Harris is on a bye week this week, but what do you plan to touch base on with her and her 03 today?
Let her know that David is coming. She's actually going to be changed to Thursdays instead of Tuesdays. Miss Hammond and I are going to team up so that we don't take up 4 of her 5 days, so that she can actually like internalize. And David is coming tomorrow as well, I believe. Yes, it is tomorrow. He'll be here tomorrow as well, but I want to prioritize like what moves we need to make moving forward. Like let's take maybe 2 lessons and like what is the overall goal of this lesson? Do we need to set another debate? Do we need to have a gallery walk? Like what do we actually need to do to push student thought process in that class? Our last observation, it did not go well with David and myself. I also spoke to her about that, but I think we just need to prioritize like lesson planning so that execution is high.
Yeah, and that's on track because on the cohesive coaching cycle, the suggestion for your WDM with her, which will be today, is to do a lesson internalization during the O3. So if we're noticing gaps in her lesson planning, what are those gaps and how am I going to build on at least one of those gaps in my time with her today? It may be like 10,000.
Bless you.
All right, cool. So what I want us to do now, now that we have reviewed the cohesive coaching cycle, do you need this printed out or are you fine with the digital version?
No, I'm printed.
Okay, I'll have that for you.
I'm gonna print it. The computer is cool sometimes, but you know I like that paper. Really helps me to keep track.
You see the arrow?
It says come in.
Oh.
Real quick, Mr. Lane had an idea about just making it, they were talking about making it a wall in general and cutting out that space in front. And having like a little gate or something Miss Alvarado could come out of, but instead of a door here, he was saying like just something straight across. Or would you
Let me
just prefer-
let me wrap up with this and then I'll come back.
Okay.
Can you change it to in a meeting?
Oh.
Can you change it to in
D&D or
a meeting? Okay, so now that we are on track with our cohesive coaching cycle, I want us to turn our attention to their lesson plan feedback and O3 planning document. I'm about to link that here for you as well.
I can already tell you that is a growth area for me. I don't need support. It's a me thing, it's not a you thing. So yeah.
Have we given feedback to teachers this week on their lesson plans?
Yes.
Where does that live?
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It's not living on the document. That's why that's the growth point. I have done it with the actual lesson.
How does that look?
So I'll use Ms. White's for example because that's who was in CTT yesterday. So I printed out her lesson plan and I wrote feedback on the actual lesson plan. And then in addition to that, I gave them the checklist during CTT.
Okay, so
She needs to live on the document, yes. That's why I said that is a growth point. I'm not going to give you an excuse. I don't need support. It has nothing to do with you. I know that's a verbal.
So
I mean, I can't make an excuse. I'm not going to make an excuse.
I do appreciate that. So let's click on, I linked it in for you. Let's click on yours.
Wait.
Okay. Let's open up, for example,
Mr. Clark got semi-started. That's it. But nobody else know.
okay, so you have Clark. All right, so the lesson that you should be doing this on is his priority lesson you're going in to observe.
Okay.
You're only providing that
Just
this
on the-
feedback on the lesson you're going in to observe. Is this to say none of the other lessons matter? No.
Okay.
What happens here should also transfer over to my other lessons. But in the
Okay.
cohesive coaching cycle,
Has to be that
everything
priority
is
lesson.
aligned. So if
Okay.
I'm giving you feedback on a lesson, that is the lesson I'm also observing. That's also the lesson we're then closing the loop on by looking at student data. Instead of it being, I'm gonna give you a lesson, feedback on lesson from Monday, but I'm coming in to see your Friday lesson. Oh, we're gonna have a WDM on your lesson from Wednesday. There's no cohesion in that, and it's sporadic and it doesn't allow you to see how did you apply my feedback, how did you do it in the moment with the real-time feedback, and because of the feedback and me walking alongside you in the planning, what is then the student results and how do we take this and apply it to the upcoming cycle we have.
Okay.
So while you started this, I do want to just push, it should only be for those priority lessons that's on the cycle that we just reviewed.
Okay.
So Miss White seems to be the only person that's on track with that, correct? So let's open up Miss White's tracker. And let's open up Miss White's digital clipboard. And I'm going to make sure everything is linked all together too. So it's just like when I open up White, I got all her stuff. Alright, so we're looking at module 4, lesson 3, which she's doing today.
Mm-hmm.
And let's open up hers in one.
I'm good. How are you?
And alright, so let me close some of these tabs so I'm in the right person. Because I'm still looking at Clark. Okay, here's White. So we're gonna make a copy, and today's date is 1/10/23. Alright, so let's start with the big picture. Looking at this, does Miss White have her standard deconstruction?
No,
So what do we do on the tracker?
not present.
Does she, I definitely skipped step 1. Does she have her purpose for student learning scripted?
No,
Okay. Does she have a scripted portion for how she plans to connect the lesson to student identity?
no,
Does she have her teacher-specific exemplar for the exit ticket?
yes,
Okay. If you were to say, if you were to consider the various components of it, is this emerging, proficient, or exemplar? Exemplary.
I would say it's emerging. It's not quite proficient.
Mm-hmm.
I know we did talk about, she actually has it in her CFS to convert a whole number to a fraction, but she doesn't show it. She goes right into the multiplication step. Yesterday she did show it, so I don't know why she changed that.
Alright.
So I would say she's emerging.
Standard specific CFS, is it present?
Yes.
How would you rate it?
It's very conceptual. So I think it's a good CFS. I might add a little bit more to it just because of the grade level that she teaches. So I might add a few more words than I would with an 8th grade class.
A few more words from the standard.
From the CFS. Like, it's a good CFS. It's very conceptual, but I think that 5th graders need a little bit more, like, maybe it should say multiply straight across, like, instead of just multiply. So it's good. I just might add a little bit more into it just because she specifically teaches 5th grade, but I think it's a conceptual CFS. What's your push?
My push is it seems still very procedural from my lens. But we can definitely dive into conceptual versus procedural CFS when it comes to math. But it seems very procedural with convert, multiply, simplify. Convert, multiply, simplify. Convert, multiply, simplify. It just seems like step 1, step 2, step 3, instead of like pushing students to think about what do I need to do next, instead of my teacher telling me to multiply and now my teacher's telling me I need to simplify. Just to push student thinking. I think there's a way to word it to turn it from, I think one word easily makes it procedural.
The only reason why I would push back on that a little bit is because like a student has to know what we do find that students want to do is cross multiply. So that could also be seen as multiplication as well. But it actually, you don't cross multiply, you multiply straight across. So, I guess it could go hand in hand, but I would, if that wasn't it, I wouldn't know what to tell her to change.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this will be a further conversation because I also am pushing my brain on math and what is procedural versus conceptual CFS look like for math.
It's a very fine line.
Yeah.
It really is.
And we can walk that line together and figure it out to make it more black and white for the campus.
Yeah.
But in your opinion, at this point in time, her CFS is emerging.
Yes.
Okay. Has she embedded any data from previous assessments into this lesson plan to have data-driven decisions?
No, it doesn't appear that way.
I'm even toggling between this and her PowerPoint. Has she outlined key moments in the lesson that she plans to omit and why she needs to omit it?
No, it looks like she has students doing. Well, there's obviously a 3, so she omitted that, but according to what she submitted, they're doing all of the work.
So no.
No.
Okay. Has she scripted direct instruction or scripted her CFUs, which was Monday's content team time?
No.
Okay. Has she identified where students will lead in the lesson, where student voice will be elevated? Okay. Has she included any supports for her exceptional learners?
No.
Okay. So if you were to give her glows, 3 glows, what would be 3 glows from her lesson?
She did identify some misconceptions, possible misconceptions. I think she just crossed out number 3 on the exit ticket. I don't know why she did that. She did this yesterday as well. I like that on her PowerPoint, it shows like growth, like what maybe my first step would look like, my second, my third, and then my 4th. So I do like that she takes them in steps, like she really did.
Modeling each step.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know this is small, but at least she has a CFS present. Like, she has a starting point, and I think that's like better than a lot of people can say.
Okay.
Like,
That's her glove. Now that you see a big picture of where she is for her lesson planning, we see a lot of red,
mm-hmm.
2 yellows. Of all the red, what would be the highest leverage action for her to improve in the most? That would truly impact student learning. Can't choose them all, so what's the top?
Lesson plan includes script for direct instruction, including scripted CFUs to ask students. I think that may also prompt her to think about her supports for exceptional learners. It should help her also if she has CFUs, should help her to identify her laps. Because we talked about that yesterday, like your laps literally just come from your CFS. So I think if those were scripted in there, I think that would help her.
So student learning will improve the most if teacher plans for key moments in the lesson by 1, 2, 3. What are the 3 things you want her to do to improve in that area?
Script key moments to have for student discourse.
What should she use maybe to do that? She has it already in her lesson plan, so what should she leverage?
Her CFS.
You
Or her
said
misconceptions.
earlier, yes,
Her misconceptions.
yes, so word is so where that's in there as well.
Just doing CFUs. Or scripting CFUs to ask students.
Click out of it real quick so I can read the training room. When you say script for key moments, you're talking about general prompts, not check for understandings.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can get with that then for the second step. And then the last one. You mentioned something that's missing earlier.
this might be wordy, but I would definitely identify like or identify like I'm trying to minimize the words, but basically she needs to be able to have some places in her lesson where she talks about how she's going to support our exceptional learners.
Exactly. So, what does support look like, or what are you looking for when we think about key moments?
I actually want to see it labeled like how she, like literally like I did give her the example yesterday when you write the numerators on top and the denominators on the bottom and make it it's kind of hard to explain, but after she says to convert the whole number into a fraction, there was another step that I added that she actually does show on here when I gave her feedback. Like that would have been something small that would have helped exceptional learners. That does not necessarily help it's not necessarily a big push for our traditional students, but it helps everybody. But it really does help our exceptional learners.
Yep. So identify additional scaffold. Additional scaffold step or additional scaffold per question for exceptional learners. Alright, so she has her glows and she has her area of focus. Now this, very simple, we can send it over to Miss White. Can we send her a quick email for her lesson plan feedback? Do you need the examples that I sent out? I look forward to observing this lesson on
Today. Hope that link is right.
Alright, so in all of that, that took us about potentially 10 minutes. About 10 minutes. So she will then also be able to see her growth per cycle on these various elements of her lesson planning. When it comes to planning out the O3 and your O3 agenda for this lesson, where would that go?
Where it says step 3B.
And then even when it comes to the re-rubric, to also like for her to see it and for you to have it as well, where does that go?
Step 2.
Yep,
That's what
so
I'm about to do.
everything is going to live here. And you're able to transfer this to Whetstone, but she's also able to see her progression. You're able to see your progression, and we're seeing how we're closing the gaps with our cycles. So I sent you a calendar invite, just as a reminder to CC me on this same feedback you're now going to do for Wilkerson and Clark for their lesson plans that's due tomorrow.
Okay.
And I will join you. I will join you on Friday with Wilkerson in that observation. And then I'll also join you for her O3 next week. And I want to use our O3 next week to plan out your WM with her so I can continue to coach you and work with you on those moves. So that'll be our time together next week preparing for that WM with Ms. Wilkerson. All right. So, any questions about the cohesive coaching cycle? Okay. Something that I also would like us to do as we continue to get our feet wet with cohesive coaching, what I did with Solis is we were able to look at all of her trackers and see the trend and the gaps teachers were having. And we planned out her content team time.
Okay.
So as we get our feet wet, we'll be able to do the same for you by looking at the trends. What's the trend for math specifically? And how do we then turn this into content for content team time? So next steps, next week, we're going to review Ms. Wilkerson's data and plan a WDM with her. So both of our pre-work will have to be having our exemplar done for that exit ticket.
So that's also, I plan on having a WD with her this week too, to review the data from yesterday. Cause she took a quiz yesterday too.
Cool.
So
I'll
gonna
just keep
it
coaching.
online.
Yeah, I'll coach you with the priority lesson though. So we'll both have our priority lesson exit ticket for her first cycle as our pre-work for next week's 8 p.m. I mean, 03. But if you're having a WM, perfect with her.
Yeah, cause I did want to review like what I saw yesterday.
Yeah, we're just gonna work together on this.
The next one. Yeah.
Well, no, this is still the same cycle.
Well, the one that she has like
Exactly.
on Friday.
Yeah. I'm gonna coach you through the CCC, but if you do additionals,
Okay.
cool beans. Not stopping any progress with that. So that's our pre-work. And hopefully also next week we'll be able to start planning out a content team time as well based on the feedback the trends we're seeing in the trackers for all teachers.
Okay.
As we close out, because I do need to head to my 03 with Miss Barber, if you were to give yourself 3 glows so far from this week, what would they be?
Being in classes. I've really been intentional about being in classes, even if it's for a shorter period of time. Being able to give feedback. I know it wasn't you, but I was still able to at least give feedback. And talk about like what needs to happen in order for the lesson to go better. I just have to be more intentional about putting it into the document.
You and your glows right now. You got one more glow to give yourself.
I already got those 2.
Can we say stretching ourselves with new tools, new strategies,
Yeah.
new information as a new AP?
Okay.
So that would be, I would echo the 3 glows that you gave yourself also. I really do appreciate you first owning your calendar. So you put things down on your calendar, and when you say, I'm going to go to this teacher's classroom, you're prioritizing into that teacher's classroom. So you're keeping those priorities of priorities and leveraging your outlook. Even I see you giving that feedback to teachers. We don't want learning to be lost in moments, so you're making sure you give that real-time feedback to teachers, which I do appreciate. And you weren't able to give yourself this 3rd one, but I also see how much you're stretching yourself when it comes to new tools, new strategies, just everything new. Being an AP in the first year, I think I was always learning something new day by day. Like I didn't feel like, oh, I mastered being an AP by the time 2nd semester came, because 2nd semester is different than 1st semester. So I really do appreciate you just consistently being open and being eager to learn and to be a better you as an AP or a better coach to teachers and to students day by day. And also just like supporting Miss Ortiz throughout this transition as well. Like you have really stepped in and asked her like, are you good? Or even providing guidance with this, helping out with reading, printing out materials for reading. And that's not even on your caseload, but team and family is what you're exhibiting. And I really do appreciate it. If you were to give yourself 1 grow, what would it be?
The making sure I make sure everything goes into the document that we just did, like making sure that I do that and prioritize that so that teachers can get feedback in a timely manner. So that's definitely like something that I have to do.
Yeah, I would echo, we really have to make sure that this semester even more, we are prioritizing a cohesive coaching cycle. That means teachers are receiving tangible feedback, not just us like printing and give it to them. We want to track their progress. They need to receive that tangible feedback and timely feedback as well. So continue to push yourself. I know that Miss Young has this date for me to give this feedback. I need to make sure I am giving that feedback. And even more, I need to hold my teachers accountable. I can't give you this feedback on this date if you don't have it turned in. So having those honest conversations and following up with emails and having things written also with the verbal to ensure things are accountability across the board. But we really have to prioritize teacher growth so we can prioritize student growth. We can't. Our work is done through teachers.
Yeah.
We can no longer just get to our students.
Yeah.
We were in the classrooms. We were like amazing teachers, and we did with students. We now have to do with students through teachers. So we have to hold them accountable across the board. What are you hearing in that?
No, I definitely agree with that. And that's why, like I said, even I wanted to go do another observation yesterday. I think I had a plan to do another observation, but I just realistically could not. Like I had to. Yeah, I knew I was supposed to see Mr. Purvis, and I think we had Miss Harris as well yesterday. But like I just couldn't leave, and then I wanted to see the feedback that I implemented. I wanted to see it next period, and then when she wanted me to show like kind of give an exemplar of what I meant and how it would look, which she has asked for because she said she's never seen anybody actually teach. So I did that. Then I wanted to see how she then implemented it. Yeah. So like I really wanted to see it through, and then make sure that I was also there as a support. To like really push like what the student learning look like. They should know this concept already. Now it doesn't have to be the content, but the concept they should already know. So just really being a support and pushing in, like yesterday, and then today, even though we had the meeting, I still made sure that I stopped by everybody's room to see almost everybody's room to see like what's going on, what are we doing, making sure students are where they need to be, like prioritizing like learning.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing you say is also another push is just using each week as lessons learned to see it through in the upcoming week. So if your goal is to see it through, start using it as your lens when you're planning out your outlook. Okay. So even the dates that I gave for feedback and observations need to happen, I didn't give it time. I didn't give it time. Your time is your time. However you need to do it. But this is the day with pacing that we need to make sure we keep teachers accountable because student learning cannot be compromised. But I never told you have to go in there at 11 o'clock. Use your time the way you need to use your time. And even all the observations don't fall on the same days either. You may not be able to get to all your teachers every single day. You're not going to be able to. But first, put down your CCC, your cohesive coaching. Look at whatever else you have available and plan your see it through there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Your big rock is cohesive coaching cycle this semester. See, I'm going to get a t-shirt that says CCC. We're going to have to be CCC all the time. Put those big rocks down and then think about where do I want to see it through with certain teachers. I don't have to see Miss White on this day because I'm going to go see her on this day. Maybe Wednesday is my see it through time with her as I also do cohesive coaching with her too. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you were to give me any feedback, what would it be?
For coaching
Not
me?
if, but yeah, feedback for me.
To coach me?
Feedback for me, period.
I don't know. I know that's probably not what you want to hear. You kind of put me on the spot a little bit. I don't know. You've always it's easier to give you feedback in the moment. Like I think we both kind of operated that way. I don't do well with feedback delayed. It just doesn't work well for me. You don't usually request feedback delayed. It's always like, okay, what should I have done in this moment? So I really can't give you feedback per se. I'm gonna think of something though, but I do want to get to my priority, which is to go see Ms. White before I have to get to the social stuff.
Alrighty. So I do look forward to any feedback you have. And that wraps up our O3. Is there any additional support you need from me in anything we talked about today?
No. No.
All right. Well, that's it. And as we break, I also need to head to my next O3 and maybe get something to eat.
I should probably do that.